you doing, folks? We're here tonight. I had to miss last night's open mic because I was like stuck somewhere in the middle of Ann Arbor, and it wasn't so good. It was actually mostly I was up in the north side of Detroit. Very tough place. Lots of auto workers trying to get home. That was basically it. However, I am also here to tell you about the adventures of things that happened to me last week. Saw some stuff. But first, we're going to get out the guy who's your host and MC, Mr. Mark Sweetman, for the off night.
Hey, welcome to the off night. Here's my lovely bride, Susan. Let me take the music down here real quickly. Dun, dun, dun. All right.
Boom.
It's our opening theme, courtesy of Jason's friend. We don't give him credit. We got to find out from Jason his name. We can put him in the credits. We got to create credits too, I guess. Anyway, let me get the glasses out because there's glare from the light. Welcome to the off night. The off night is a group of comedians who gather on Monday night, our traditional off night, although anymore there are no week-long clubs, and those comedy clubs that are still around may do one extra night a week other than the weekends, but they're pretty much reduced to weekends now. But we still call Monday night the off night. That's the night we can all get together. We've been at it now. We're in our 5th year. We started it with the pandemic 4 years ago, so we've gone past the anniversary date. So we're in our 5th year now. And
remember to push that like button and subscribe.
Yeah, push the like button, the subscribe button. In fact, somewhere here, I got that information here. Let me get that banner out there right now. Here it is right here.
So if you want
here's the one you want to see.
Prepared show,
Click.
join the off night.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's what we do. We've tried to make it diverse. Susan is a female and the rest of us are men, but it seems that the ones that can make it every Monday night are old senior citizen comics. Nothing wrong with that.
The white guy.
Home.
What's that?
We're out of the home. We're at the home.
Let me bring Andy up here. There he is. Okay.
Andy's
our announcer.
We're at the home. There's nothing to do. We go to sleep at 5. All right.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. Anyway. So that's our deal here. We're here every Monday night at 8. Andy is our announcer, and I usually do, since he's been with us, he's been on the show the longest, other than me. I mean, I've been here all 210, now 211 episodes. So Andy, you've been with us. Didn't you start with us like in September of 2020, or did you start after that?
I started after that. I was like, I think I was like around 21st, the 20th first. I don't think I was in kind of the post pandemic period.
Oh, well then I guess Sam has been with us the longest.
Sam has been with you the longest.
Let's get Sam out here. We're going to bring you all down for Susan to read her poem, but let me get Sam. Sam joined us in July of 2020.
And then the priest says to the lesbian, "Oh, I'm sorry, are we on?"
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was an Art Linkletter joke. I was trying to gussy up.
It's so Linkletterish,
Art Linkletter. Our audience knows who Art Linkletter is. That's pretty good.
Yeah. You know what? It's not too often you hear anybody say something as an art Linkletterism. A Linkletterism. You ever hear that?
Yeah.
I could have said Art Fleming and done a Jeopardy reference.
Yeah, Art Linkletter and Ernie Kovacs were hanging out one day at the bar, and one of them was just going a little whack. One says, "That kid looks great. I think he's an art kid." Okay,
You remember they said that, for those of you who don't know, Art Linkletter was like a. I was about to say something I thought would be hysterical. You ready?
We're going to hold you. We're going to hold you on that, Sam. We're going to hold you on that, Sam. I want to get with Andy. I just wanted to bring you up because Andy did confirm for us. You've been the co-host the longest, so. I'm going to take you down. I'm going to put Andy back up here. We're going to hear Andy's story. Then we're going to put Susan on, and then we'll get Sam and Jason back out here. All right, what's going on?
Well, I went to see Patton Oswalt this weekend up at Grand Rapids.
Oh, you went all the way up to Grand Rapids to see him?
Yeah, there was a show down here at they had it over at the Fillmore in Detroit, but I went to Grand Rapids because two things. I have a friend up there, and the seating was better.
Oh, well, yeah.
For a man my size, the seating, I was hoping that the seating was better, and it was. It was and I was also on the floor. I wasn't like up in the balcony. I had floor access.
Isn't the Fillmore sort of like cabaret style seating, or do they have like cabaret style seating on the floor?
They do have something like that, but it's mostly like they sometimes put tables in, but I think it's mostly like just chairs on the floor. But
kind of like what they do at the stadiums, where they've got the seats around the field, and on the field they just have folding chairs, that type of thing.
Kind of like that, yeah. But the thing is, all those seats were taken. All those seats are gone.
Got it.
So the only seats were the old style balcony seats, which were made for 5'1", very diminished old ladies with very small knees. As I like to describe seats like that, it's set up for flying monkeys and miniature dogs to be able to sit up there. I would have to cut my legs off to be able to sit in those chairs.
Well, you know what you should do? You should set up a YouTube page where you review seats for men of size.
Seats for men of size.
In other words, which airline is the friendliest to men who need seats?
For men who need.
Or maybe it should be
Seats.
of a, what do they say? Men of a certain, what's the term for that?
Girth.
No. Is it men of a certain age?
Disposition. Men of a certain disposition.
Oh, there you go. Men of a certain disposition, and then you could review the theaters, the airlines, the automobiles that that provide comfort to the men of a certain disposition.
Yeah, I mean, your knees get cut off. Do they have extender seat
That's
belts?
all of us. All the knees get cut off. Sam's the only one that can sit in an airline seat.
Call it grab
Is it
my
a
seat.
So yeah. Anyway, so I went to see Patton Oswalt up there. Now I've seen him at least 3 times in 3 different locations.
Wow.
Twice I saw him in Grand Rapids. So the reason I went up to Grand Rapids is I wanted to see if what happened to him the first time happened again. So the first time I went up there, it was for the Gilda comedy thing, and he was in this church. Okay. So he was gonna do the bit about the clown coming from across the open space, going to like this birthday party. It's in one of his stuff. So he goes up. There's this large backdrop. It was like 25 to 20 feet up in the air. Came down as a backdrop for him. So it had a little curtain thing inside. So he was going into the curtain thing, and he pulled a little too hard, and the whole thing fell down. It was just like out of a cartoon thing. It fell out, and it missed him. So he was like Buster Keaton in the middle of the doorway as it all just fell down. Okay.
Now, what kind of a church was it? Because in some churches, a torn curtain or a curtain coming down is actually symbolic of something.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. What was behind the curtain was fantastic.
Now I got to
There
hear
was like these. There was only like these little cubby holes, and it was like stone. It's like a stone background. It's like all these cubby holes, and there's like, and in each side of the cubby holes were all these red lights. It was like red lights. It looked like a satanic cult place. And Patton Oswalt went on like a 20-minute rant on just about, he said, what the hell do you people do here in Grand Rapids? That whole sort of thing is like, is this a cult thing? Is like, it just goes on about it. It was just, as you would call it, ball curdling, terrifying to see that,
It sounds like it.
Sounds more like the red light district.
It was the red light district that's the church of the red light district. That's what you'd say.
There you go.
But
So what did happen?
He had something equally weird happen to him this time in Grand Rapids too.
Perfect. More things to talk about.
So I go inside. The seat's okay. It's at this GLC kind of convention center, and so the seats were actually nice seats. Fairly wide. I was like 5th row. Row 5. So I could see him. I was like within like 20 feet of him. So they have an opener come out and open for him, a local Grand Rapids comedy act.
What's his name?
Can't remember her name. She was pretty good. She was
Jackie Marpa?
I don't know. It sounds like that. She did a lot of like she's a black comedian.
Oh, I know. Okay.
Really good stuff.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
She did about 20 minutes. She goes off and she says, "Okay, I'm going to bring up your headliner today. He was on King of Queens, and please welcome Patton Oswalt." Puts the microphone back in the stand, walks off. 1 minute, 10 seconds. It's like nobody's coming, and then also we hear Patton Oswalt in a rush to get onto the stage, and then when he gets onto the stage, the microphone doesn't work.
Oh no!
The microphone. He's just banging the microphone, and this tech guy comes out, starts working on the microphone. Then he does like the best described was like to me is like the I don't know, it was like a Bob. Was it? No, it was he did it. Look to the audience and put his three fingers like this.
All right.
It was like a Jack Benny thing. And it goes on, and the guy runs off. It took about like at least 5 minutes before he was able to get the microphone to work. And then finally that starts, and then he goes, "Okay." It's like, so I can't believe this. Did you guys plan this? Was this part of the whole operation? It's like, so he was good, and Patton Oswalt was pretty good. So that was a good experience. So I always try and take two of my Patton Oswalt published 2 books, and I always try and take them with me, not knowing if he's going to come back and meet the audience, and hoping that he might actually sign them. So I'm like that. I'm that pathetic guy who's kind of is he coming back? It's like is he coming out again? No, he's gone. Get out of here. So I've decided I'm not taking the books again. If I see him again, I'm just not going to take the books. I'm just going to sign it myself and say Patton Oswalt.
All right. All right. Well, we can't keep Susan waiting any longer. I'm going to put.
I'm sorry, Susan. I didn't mean to take up the whole.
Oh,
thing.
No. Wait, no, we always start with you. You had a longer story this time. It happens.
Oh, I thought
we're not that
Bring
structured.
everybody out.
No, let's have Susan read her poem, then we'll bring them out like we always do.
Okay.
Here's Susan and her poem. All right. Oh no, that's not what I want. This one. Here we go. That's the one. All right.
Okay. Might be a little anticlimactic. Preakness ran on a muddy track day. Sees the gray one. Hope you raked in the hay. Iranian president and foreign minister dead. Helicopter crashed. No word who will be next. Who will be the new head. Cohen still testifying in the Trump hush money trial. Still 3 more Fed cases, so continuing news for a while. There you go.
All right. Let's bring everybody back out now. Here's uh-oh. All right, let's get Sam out here then, guys. Andy had to take a leave there for a second. Sam's back with us.
Is the Patton Oswalt story over yet?
Yes.
Yeah. We're on day 3 of the Patton Oswalt story.
God, I wrote a fucking book while it was going on.
Hey, screw you, Sam. Fucking experience.
I'm so happy that's how he reacted. I'm so happy.
Fuck you, Sam.
God, it's like being with my
little
wife.
gal.
Hey.
I find the best way I can. I live in New York. I don't just walk outside and meet celebrities every day. Come on.
Hey, I'll give you a little Steve Buscemi if you're not careful.
Yeah, there you go.
They arrested the guy who hit him.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Good.
good.
He was a homeless guy living in a shelter, and he walked outside. He said, "Who can I punch?"
Who's available?
Who's available I can punch?
Yeah.
It happened to him.
Did he call an
it happened
agency
to
to
Rick
get us?
Moranis, and it happened to Stolberg, Michael Stolberg.
Oh wow.
So evidently, if you're a
You know,
character actor, watch your ass.
it's becoming such a thing now. They're probably going to have an agency to call. You know, you need somebody to punch, a celebrity to punch. Just call the agency that books
But
that.
they might have a stunt double to do it.
Mhm.
I think SAG-AFTRA's Extras Union is advertising for it.
Oh, there you go. All right, here's Jason also. Bring Jason out here. Here he is.
So at any rate, the elevator opens up and
But-
Art Fleming is going down on Peggy Fleming.
But only on the elevator, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Thank you for finishing the joke. Love it. Who would actually get a
by the
Peggy?
way, I
Yes.
wanted to put something out there about,
Yes, sir.
and you guys are perfect for this. You know, today, I think it was today, Trump's lawyer asked Michael Cohen, "Did you ever steal anything from Trump?" And he said, "Yes, I have." And I thought to myself, if I was the prosecutor, you know what I would say about that? I'd say, you know, when John Gotti was on trial, his
All right.
attorney was a guy named Bruce Cutler, who's one of the best criminal lawyers in New York.
Lawyers ever. Yep.
And this is how he won every single case for John Gotti until they disqualified him.
Yep.
He'd say, "Look, you're right. These people did bad things, but who else are you going to get to testify against Gotti? They're going to be thugs.
Right.
That's who they are. Okay, so you know, spare me." And that's what I would do if I was this prosecutor. I'd say, you know, Trump's a crook. So who do you think he hires? Boy Scouts? No, he hires crooks. So he got one, and he owed him money, so he stole it. I'm not saying it was the right thing to do. This is what I would do. I wouldn't say it's the right thing to do, but what were you expecting? A priest? No, that's who he is. That's what he does.
Well, the thing is, he's imperiled his case.
He sure has.
And
Sure
there's at least a more than some non-zero chance that he might get a directed verdict that would end the trial. Now, because I'm willing to believe that's going to be one of Trump's lawyers will motion. But again, and this is something you guys have been pretty accurate about. Trump hires the worst lawyers ever. I just don't get it. It's like you should be able to hire people who couldn't even get a job with Shyster, Finagle.
Do you know why he does? You know why that happens?
He doesn't pay them.
That's why it happens.
But
That's
dude,
why. You know how many great lawyers?
line.
You have an idea of how many great lawyers are in New York, and you have none of them will work for him.
You just brought up Bruce Cutler. I mean, do you remember how good that man was?
Oh, he was. Are you kidding? You know, he's still working, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, that guy is a terrific attorney.
You know, the last time I saw him was on Blue Bloods.
Really? Is he doing a little acting now?
He does a little cameo here and there. You know, he's a very nice man. I interviewed him. He's a very, very nice guy.
Than Melvin Belli was on Star Trek. That did.
I didn't hear. I didn't hear any more than
that.
I didn't hear any more than the headlines from today. But I guess there were 2 defense witnesses, and the judge had a little tete-a-tete with one of them. What was that about?
I don't know.
All right, I'm looking it up. Just keep discussing. I'm going to look it up.
All right. Well, Mark Garagos is another one he's mainly a California attorney.
Right.
But nevertheless, you can still bring someone in across state lines, and they get permission
as long as you pass the bar in that state.
Right. I mean, you can get a waiver or permission, or you partner with someone who has a license to practice in the state. Mark Garagos is not going to have a problem practicing in New York any more than what's his name, F. Lee Bailey. I'm
going to tell you
go
something.
Anywhere.
F. Lee Bailey was directly responsible, just my opinion, for Patty Hearst being found guilty.
You think?
Here's why. He talked to that jury like they were hicks. He talked to that jury. I watched that case. He talked to that jury like, "Hi, you're the great unwashed, and I'm a very sophisticated lawyer from Boston. So I'm going to talk down to you." Okay? And they hated him.
Well, that's that ex-fighter pilot. He was a fighter jock. And, you know, all those guys, I all think they have, you know, balls so big they can't get their pants on.
And my response to that is, but you're not a fighter. And you're right, by the way, but my response to that would be, but you're not a fighter pilot now. You're a lawyer.
No,
he completely and I'll tell you something else I think is very funny. Not that that's funny, but Patty Hearst, after she got out of jail, she was a huge Republican donor.
Well,
In
yeah,
other
her
words,
family.
before the trial, her family, San Francisco elite, very Republican.
Yeah.
She gets kidnapped by these thugs,
Symbionese Liberation Army, baby.
Symbionese Liberation Army,
SLA.
right? She goes to jail. She gets out of jail, and what happens? Big Republican donor.
Well, wasn't it Jimmy Carter who commuted her sentence, or am I wrong about that?
I don't know if that's true. It could be true. I've just never heard that it's true.
Yeah, because I think she did get her sentence commuted at one point. That might have been after she'd served her prison time, because sometimes you can still get a
So
commutation.
you get the felony wiped off your record.
Exactly.
I don't think she did 11 years or anything like that. I think she did
No, she didn't. She didn't do more than a couple of years. And now that we know a little bit more about the Stockholm syndrome, she married an FBI guy who was on the team.
Vance.
That helped prosecute her, and even he said this is pure Stockholm syndrome.
See, this is what I would have done if I was her lawyer. Okay,
right.
If she hadn't been kidnapped, she wouldn't have committed the crime.
No,
that's it. If she hadn't been kidnapped, she wouldn't have been in the bank. She wouldn't have had a gun. She wouldn't have committed the crime. So if you're
the
right,
defense.
So that's all you have to say. But F. Lee Bailey is saying something like, so she's carrying a gun, and for those of you who don't know, that's something that fires bullets. And now I'll tell you what bullets are. I mean, he did. It was awful. It was
we had a guy here in Michigan in the mid to late '80s who was a specialty witness, not an attorney, but he was
character witness.
He was the shyster psychologist, and he was called the case I remember is in the case of Ron Lloyd Bailey, and you guys have never heard of him, or probably haven't, but he was this really awful, horrible scumbag who kidnapped and murdered a couple children. And now the thing is, the guy, this is when people say, oh, these guys go to prison and die. No, they don't. Sadly, this motherfucker is still alive. My point being is that this guy, Ron Lloyd Bailey, had been in the system as a kid, and of course he got diddled and whatnot and run through, and but they had this one shyster TV psychologist come in to testify, and he was hated by the law by the jury. It's one of those times when it really did backfire. There was no real defense. The only defense they were trying to go for was not guilty by reason of mental defect, which in the state of Michigan is very difficult. We use what's known as the McNaughton test, which most
I know the
states use
McNaughton
now.
rule. If you have to know right from wrong.
Yeah, exactly. That this person, it's a subjective test. This person,
if you knew the difference between right and wrong, if you knew that murdering somebody was wrong, then you're saying.
Then yeah. I mean, and again, you talk about how Buscemi got clocked by a homeless dude who's probably, let's face it, deranged on some level. I mean, we're not taking mental illness serious in this country, not at all. You look at the homeless problem. A lot of people are
who we
ill.
hate in New York City? Geraldo Rivera. He did what he called an expose. You see my quotes? Expose of a place called Willowbrook. And because of him, Barbara, you can't talk to Barbara about this. She'll talk to you for an hour because she hates him so much. Hundreds of homeless people were set loose on the street.
Yeah. Well, Chillicothe Follies also did the same thing. Again, because our insane asylums at that time were just a cut above Auschwitz.
They were horrible.
I think Auschwitz had a better morning breakfast menu than so they had that going for them. But yeah, our institutions were absolute nightmare fuel. And they needed reform. And the thing is, mental illness is expensive, and we're not willing to. We'll spend $160 million to buy all kinds of weapons for the Ukraine, and who cares if we kill 500,000 men, women, and children there? That's fine. We got money for that. Or $13 billion for yet another aircraft carrier because have you seen those airplanes? They're really great. But if paying money for people who are mentally ill and homeless. No, fuck them. What do? You know, they wear last year's fashion. They wear all their clothes at once. I mean, come on. You know, it's ridiculous. It's horrifying. You know, you see here in Ann Arbor, the homeless population in Ann Arbor, most of these people they're just deranged and they need help. They cannot function like regular people who can have jobs and maintain domiciles, and it simply is not within their grasp.
I could
I'm
be
sure
wrong, but I think I saw some of those people you're talking about at the Met Gala.
Oh, you mean the people who say "fuck the poor" and
Well,
and
no,
help
no,
build aircraft
just the way they
carriers?
were dressed.
Well, oh God, you know. You know what? At the point, if the rich want to be silly and stupid, it's their money. Go ahead. But
Well, here's the thing.
but
In order to do that, you have to pay $35,000. So millions of dollars are raised for the Met.
yeah, well, like you say, for like when Michael Vick donated money to help the animal, you know, for animal. If these folks, you know, were to do something silly and stupid and indulgent, but raise some money for charity, great, go right ahead. You know, we've always had the rich people, and they've always been stupid and eccentric. It's not new. But the sort of the level of avarice coupled with
It's frightening.
the disregard
It's amazing.
is yes. You know, there was a time there was a political party, I think they were called Democrats, who actually tried to do something. We know the Republicans. I mean, here, I will be honest. Here, the Republicans did their level best to fuck the doomed as hard as they possibly could. And in this state, they did. Under a guy named Governor Engler, who
closed all the mental
someday hopefully will die and go to hell. The sooner the better.
He's still alive?
Sadly.
Yeah. He's the guy they put in charge of Michigan State when the president had to quit because of the Larry
because of Larry Nassar. You know, scary Larry.
Oh, the doctor?
Yeah.
Yes.
When the president of the university had to resign because of that scandal, they appointed the state. Was it the governor that appointed Engler? I think the governor appointed Engler.
The last time I voted for a Democrat for governor was when I voted for Jeff Feiger, who is running against Engler.
Do you think that in that case with Nassar, I'm asking because I don't know, because you guys are from Michigan.
Right.
Do you think that the president of Michigan State should have been made to resign?
Yes. You are ultimately, at a certain level, you are responsible.
Did he know about it and ignored it?
Well, you're kind of responsible for what goes on. How about this? When the president of Penn or Penn State had to give up the ghost because they had a little problem down
because
there
of Sandusky.
Because of Jerry.
Yeah. Let me tell you what the difference is. The difference is that everybody. I don't know if this is true in Michigan, but once again, you'll tell me. Everybody at Penn State knew about Sandusky.
Yes, they did.
I don't know if that's true at Michigan State.
And well, you are in a position. You're being paid what, 7 figures? You're not the night clerk at the 7-Eleven. You're head of a multi-billion-dollar organization, and it's your job to make sure things run right. And when you got a guy who's diddling little girls, I'm sorry, it's not going to work out so good for you.
You know, I'm always impressed by the judge at that trial, because he did something that you never see being done, which was they sentenced him to, I think it was like 25 years or something like that. And they said, do you have anything to say before I pass sentence? And it's going to be like 25, 30 years. And he goes, yes, I do. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And you could hear the gasps come out of the audience like, it's not my fault. They just overreacted to a little touchy feel. And the judge said, okay, I'm sentencing you. I'm obviously paraphrasing now, but he goes, okay, I'm sentencing you to 135 years in jail.
Adam,
I'll contend 1 point on that. The female, it was a female judge, so she sentenced him.
Oh, that's fine. All the better.
Yeah.
And by the way, it makes him even dumber. That he said it to a female judge. Jesus.
Oh,
you know, do you have anything to say? Yeah,
was
bitches, man. You know.
Exactly. That was Larry Nassar, though. That was
bitches
Larry
get
Nassar.
angry.
Yeah. I mean, we had a problem down here at
Larry
the
Nance.
University of Michigan
Larry
with a
Nance,
doctor
that's
who
good
was
bad.
we had a doctor who was touchy-feely with the University of Michigan athletes, amongst others. And people
Dr.
ask, well, do you
Anderson.
think he did it? And it's like the University of Michigan paid over $450 million to settle this. You don't part with nearly $500 million if there's nothing going on.
Unless
You
unless
just
it
don't.
happened.
Yeah.
Right.
You because you know that if you don't part with $500 million, you're going to be on the line for triple that.
That's some
All right.
endowment then they have. Jesus.
All right, I went away.
Yeah.
I went away to look up the story of what happened in court today in the trial. I found it. It's AP.
On a lighter note,
it's from the Associated Press, which I didn't even know was still around anymore. There's so many
Yeah.
goofy news services, you know.
yeah.
We have news services called Yahoo, Gabber, you know. Anyway, this is from AP. A judge in Donald Trump's hush money trial cleared the courtroom of reporters Monday and then threatened to remove the defense's witness from the trial altogether because of his behavior on the stand. Judge Merchan told Robert Costello, a former federal prosecutor, that his conduct was contemptuous right now. Costello aggravated Merchan repeatedly in his testimony by making comments under his breath and continuing to speak after objections were sustained. At one point, Costello remarked, "Geez," when he was cut off by an objection. He also called the whole exercise ridiculous.
So he was all kinds of stupid.
Well,
No,
being an Italian, he could have unzipped his pants, pulled it out, and did the helicopter. I mean,
Yeah.
which would really be contemptuous.
Oh,
Yeah.
stop making it trailer night. By the way, is it me or is Andy starting to look like David Letterman?
He is.
Yes.
He is.
Yeah. Oh, Letterman said something on Colbert the other night on his Colbert questionnaire.
I saw that.
I totally agree with, and I think I'm going to see. We need to start a movement on this. And he said, I can't remember what the question was, but he said that he hates when he comes to an intersection and people wave you on. I had that happen twice. I had that happen twice today. Just learn the laws of traffic.
Yes.
Learn how to be a pedestrian. Know who has the right of way and follow it. I don't need all this bullshit waving me on crap.
Well, Mark, do you remember a time when Detroit still had, 1 million people in it or close to it?
Yeah.
And if you, you remember when, if you came into Detroit and weren't prepared to drive, you were going to end up a grease spot in no time at all. It's not that way anymore because, the town's almost empty. But
well, my theory was always I weigh 180 pounds. Well, I did when I made this theory. I weigh a little bit now. I weigh 180 pounds. The car weighs 3,500 pounds. I'm going to give the right of way to the car.
Yeah.
Well, there's a in Washington. I don't know if you have these in Detroit. Do you have traffic? I'm not being funny. I don't know if you have them. You have traffic circles?
We
Yes.
do now. Yeah.
Okay. And we have them in DC.
Yeah.
And of course, in traffic circles, the car that is in the traffic circle has the right of way.
Right away.
Yeah.
That is correct.
That's
Only
right.
in Boston does the car coming in have the right of way.
Oh my God, you're kidding me.
Because this is Boston's attitude about giving directions.
Yeah.
And I live there, so I'm telling you, this is the truth. If you don't know where you're going, you shouldn't have come here.
You shouldn't have been there. Yes. That's the way the University of Michigan
That's a good one.
does all the labeling of their buildings, because the U of M is one of these snotty
In Ann
places
Arbor?
where, yes,
Yes.
they're like, excuse me, do you know where the undergraduate library is? Oh, yes, I do. And we don't end our sentences in prepositions.
Excuse me, I haven't eaten in a week. Huh, glad I'm not you.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the U of M.
Well,
Wonderful
let's
place.
go talk to Paul and the band. Let's see what's happening with Paul and the band, okay?
In what?
Paul and the band. Let's go talk to Paul and the band, shall we?
He's doing a Letterman.
I was trying if I look like David.
Paul Schaefer?
Yeah, Paul Schaefer. There you go.
Yeah, I forgot I put Andy on 5-minute delay.
Got it.
I have this friend. Let me rephrase that. We used to be friends. And I'll tell you the story later. That's kind of sad and pathetic, and therefore it fits me to a T. But he's a musician, very good. He wrote an off-Broadway play that got mentioned in Time Magazine, Song of Singapore.
Mm.
And
Oh, okay.
it was a good show. It was a good show. And it had the actress Donna Murphy in it. And she's terrific. Anyway, he has a hard-on for really successful people who do what he does for a living. In other words, he's a mostly pianist. And he gets like Paul Schaefer. He hates Paul Schaefer. And I go, how can you hate Paul Schaefer? How do you hate him? It's like hating Al Roker. And how do you hate a guy who's like? How did my ex-wife refer to him? Al Roker, a black muppet.
Yeah.
Ah. Well, the thing is, Paul Schaefer is a talented musician.
Very, very.
He's very good at what he does.
But here's the thing. So I said, why do you hate him? He goes, because he's a hack. And I said, that's not why you hate him. You hate him because he's eminently successful.
Yeah, he's jealous.
And you're playing at the Monkey Bar on Thursdays. And by the way, that's actually the name of the bar. And it's a very, very nice, very, very exclusive place. He makes great money there. His sifter jar has to be lifted up by crane.
Oh my God.
No, he does
Nice.
very well. And, my feeling about that kind of thing is, you're making a living. You live in New York City, a very expensive place to live. You got a nice place. What do you want from life? So you're not Paul Schaefer. So? And he goes,
Yeah.
So here's my story about this guy. When Michael Jordan quit playing basketball to go play minor league baseball, he said, you know how you get, and he calls me, he used to call me all the time. He said, you know how you get Michael Jordan to quit playing baseball? I said, no. He said, kill his mother.
Yeah.
Which even for me, I thought that was a little much.
Yeah, well,
I said, I got to tell you, I just don't think that's funny.
Well, he was playing baseball. He's playing. I know I'm getting off track, but he was playing baseball because he was doing some things that were causing him problems.
He had gambling debts.
He was gambling problems. Yeah,
and the people he owed money to don't take lightly to. I'll pay you when I can.
No.
So the commissioner, you're exactly right. So the commissioner of basketball said, why don't you take a year off and go to a place where no one can find you? Say, I don't know, a minor league town.
Yeah, think things over.
Yeah, why would you quit? Why would you quit at the peak, at your athletic peak?
Yeah. Again, have lunch with Art Schleister, see how it's working out for him.
Art Schleister, oh my God, what a blast from the past.
Oh, but what a record. He's going back to prison. He's
really?
people. Yes. He's still scamming people.
Oh,
he scammed some woman out of like $500,000. Yeah, I mean he's just an aggressively bad human being. Ryan Lee sort of embraces the suck.
How old
at
is
least tries.
He should take a lesson from Denny McClain and serve Slurpees at 7-Eleven.
Is Schleister at 60? Is that a good guess?
Late 50s, yeah, because late 50s, early 60s, yeah. He's right around my age.
So if he goes to jail, this is a felony.
Oh yeah. Well, he's been in and out of jail.
So he's going to be doing 10 years?
I think he's going back in for 4 or 5, but he's been in and out of jail for the last 20 years.
When your life is hell, when your life is shit, when you go into prison and the corrections officer goes, Artie,
hey, you're back. Well, someone brought up Denny McClain. Denny McClain is another guy who, talk about throwing it away with both hands. I mean, even after he did his time for the Miami thing, where he got busted for all the dope, had to do a very serious federal sentence. I mean, they gave him some time. He comes out. He comes back to Detroit. They love him. He's on radio stations. He plays piano.
You know what's amazing about him?
A lot of things, but
I'll tell you, every male in his family died before they were 50.
Yeah, and the fact he's still alive.
And Denny is the size of Detroit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big man.
And when he was playing ball, when he was at his peak, he would drink, and he talked about this in the Life magazine thing. He 16 to 17 Pepsis a day.
Yep.
And he's big, he's huge, he's fat. He doesn't do anything to like. I don't think he smokes, but he
No.
doesn't do anything to make himself, improve. And he's still alive. He's got to be in his 70s.
Well, Mark remembers when Denny, when he was on a win streak. Again, popular guy. He's on all kinds of media. Has a regular gig playing piano at a club, and then he buys into a meatpacking place.
And he was good. He was good too.
Yeah.
You mean a good musician?
He was a great
Yeah.
keyboardist. Yeah, he had albums out.
Yeah, he could play. And he buys this meatpacking place, raids the retirement fund. I mean, normally this would make you the Republican candidate in that district if you're on the west side of. I'm dead serious. If you're on the west side of the state of Michigan, the Van Andels or the DeVosses would have said, "You're our boy." But fortunately, someone stepped in and he got sent back to prison because once again, he just couldn't keep his hands out of the cookie jar, even though he has all the cookies he could want. I don't get it.
Well, it's almost to me like a rich guy. Okay, you have a rich guy who you say to him, "You're worth $50 million. What more could you want?" And he'll tell you another 50 million.
Another $50 million. Yep, a little
because
more.
Guys who reach that level of, and I'm not talking about a crook now, but guys who reach that level of success, they don't go, "Okay, I'm going to stop." I would stop if I had $50 million. You'd be playing the exciting quiz show. Where's Sam?
Not to swerve into an open wound, but do you think that's what maybe makes Trump do what he's doing? Because he could have rode off, if he had chosen to ride off into the sunset, none of this would be going on. You can argue with me about that if you want.
Trump's, well, you know what his niece is a psychologist.
Yeah.
And I read her book, and when you if you read her book, it reads like a psychological makeup. I don't mean makeup like she's making it up, but a psychological makeup of the man. And she says he's a malignant narcissist. There's no other way to get around it. So everything you're saying now is true. Why wouldn't a normal person quit? Because remember, he said, if I lose this election in 2020, I'm going to just ride off into the sunset. I'm going to play golf. I'm going to hang out in Mar. But I knew he wouldn't. His ego won't let him.
King George Bush the First had no problem. One and done. Used to hang out with the Clintons. The Clintons used
Jimmy
to come
Carter
up and vacation with him. Yeah, they used to. All three of them would vacation together occasionally. I mean,
George W. Bush and Barack Obama and Bill Clinton hang out.
Yeah,
and Jimmy Carter, not Bill Clinton and George H.W. Bush had a very close relationship in a charity.
Yeah, they were pals, and also, ex-presidents talk to each other. They become resources for one another. There are some great conversations between LBJ and Eisenhower and John F. Kennedy.
I think one of the greatest I ever saw. I thought it was adorable. At John McCain's funeral, George Bush W. is sitting next to Michelle Obama, and he gives her like a little nudge, and she goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You want a mint?" And she goes, "Yeah, thanks." He goes, "I love these." And they're just, they're talking like two people, just, and Barack Obama leans over and goes, "All right, that's enough of that," and it was funny.
Well, he's a narcissist. He's a narcissist too, though.
I think anybody who runs for president is that on some level.
Oh, sure. Oh, you have to be. Look at Nixon.
Some level. At least a needy ego. But it's interesting to me, none of them ever considered saying, we ought to invite Trump to this. Never.
No.
And also, and I've never understood this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Trump has never had an official White House portrait.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Oh,
there's this people that do Elvis mount stuff that were trying to get it done, but
Did you see
Trump has never had a dog? That's enough for me.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, well, because you have to take care of it. By the way, did you see King George's official portrait?
King Charles's.
King Charles, rather. Yeah. Did you see it?
Yeah, it's like, who did that?
All
Alice
in
Cooper's
red.
official.
Yeah.
You know what Desi Leidig said when she saw it? She goes,
"What?
This is amazing, and it reminds me I need tampons."
Ah!
How great is that?
That is great. She's great. I like.
Oh,
I had stopped watching that show after Trevor Noah left, and I hadn't picked it up until Jon Stewart came back. And she does a really good job as the anchor. They might make her the permanent anchor.
Yeah.
You know what you know where she was born and raised, Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm wondering if she ever did stand up there.
I wonder if she yeah, she probably, if Sobel had anything to say about it.
Desi, you're funny.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you have the goods. By the way, Desi, do you have any weed?
is this someone you guys knew from the?
Yeah, he was my go-to guy for virtually every gig I did in the Midwest.
He was
a booker or?
He was a booker.
He was the biggest booker outside of New York, Chicago, and LA. And
he was a very generous guy. When my daughter was born, we got a check from him for $200. He was a very nice guy. And his brother, Chip, now works for Louisville Bats.
Oh, the minor league team.
Wow.
Well, yeah, he's the PR guy for them. He said the funniest thing about his brother Tom. I go, do you think Tom talks too much? I was obviously feeding him because Tom can't stop talking.
Right.
In the days where you paid long distance,
yeah,
you'd have to get it co-signed when you talk to Tom.
Right.
But Chip had this great line. I said, I'll do the whole thing. I go, Chip, how do I get from Bloomington, Indiana to Louisville? Sam, first there was lava.
No, the directions we always on the road. Every comic had this impression of Tom Sobel giving directions to a gig. All right, put your car in reverse, back out of your driveway.
You think he's kidding? Be careful.
That's how the directions.
There's traffic coming down that side of the road. I've been to that road.
He did this, and he did this off of Rand McNally maps for every state. He did not. We didn't have Google Maps back then. There was no.
No.
You know what I mean? So he
So
has
who
some great
was the
maps.
worst booker you guys ever encountered?
The worst?
Yeah, the one that you got a call from him and your skin would crawl. I mean, so you know what I mean.
Who?
Would that be Yoder?
For me,
Yoder wasn't
I only
the
worked
worst.
for Yoder twice. After he booked me with Ron Ramey, I never took his calls again.
Well, Yoder had the summer money, right?
Yoder,
Huh?
that was a Frank Stevens creation.
Oh, the summer money.
The summer money. He owned Comedy Connections in Lansing, and he told John, "Well, why do we have to pay these guys so much? My crowds are down in the summer. We should pay summer money." And that's where the summer money.
Summer money.
Yeah.
Summer money. Yeah.
Summer
Does that mean like
money.
30% less than normal?
This is a story that gets attributed to me, which I'm kind of proud of, actually. I hadn't talked to John probably in 6 to 8 months. So he gets me on the phone. He goes, "You never call me anymore." I go, "Yeah, sorry, John, my phone's out." I paid him in summer money.
That's funny. That's very funny. There was a guy in Philly, and I can't remember his name. He was a musician. He was a comedian, and he also booked rooms. And I worked for him one time, and I said, and the money was good, by the way, but he was such a bad human being. I said, I have to make a decision. Do I want to be near this guy?
Is Lily coming back?
And I don't know if I want to be near this guy.
What?
So sort of like signing a contract with Satan, something along those lines.
Well,
or?
At least with Satan, you knew why you were there.
Yeah, with this guy, you're like, what did I do to deserve this?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
What? hold on. Was I mean to a nun? Did I kick a dog? I mean,
How about
pass
Bill
gas
Thomas?
in an elevator and blame it on the blind dude? I mean,
How about Bill Thomas's line? That Bill Thomas's line was, "Who do I got to sleep with to get out of this gig?"
Oh, that's funny. Did you ever work for the guys in North Carolina, Abe Greenberg?
Yes. Yeah. Brad Greenberg, you mean?
And his father, Abe?
Abe, yeah. And there was another guy, Chester
Bennett.
No. There were a bunch of guys. That worked for that. Not Funny Farm. What was the name of that? Comedy Zone. That was a Comedy Zone.
And I worked for them 5 times. Every time it was nice. They had a guy working for them, a black comic. I know this can't be his real name, Manny Man. I told you the story about him.
Yeah.
And he said, Manny really likes you, and he wants to work with you again. I said, well, I don't want to work with Manny. Is that okay? He goes, yeah. Why? So I told him why, and this always killed me. That Manny. That I'm telling a guy named Abe Greenberg or Brad Greenberg that Manny said, let me sign your name into the hotel, and he wrote Jew comic. I figured that Greenberg, if I could say it again, Greenberg would understand why I didn't want to work with him. He goes, oh, he was just kidding. I said, okay, I'll tell you what. Next time we work together, I'll sign in for him. And I'll write Coon comic. You think he'll think that's an e-slapper? He goes, and I swear to God, he went, well, that's different. I went, oh, okay. So I thought to myself, okay, you're insane. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
there's something definitely wrong with you. So,
I mean, and this isn't the same as a booker, but I mean, yeah, I've heard so many stories about
Jeff
Mitzi
Chester.
Shore.
Jeff Chester.
I don't know Mitzi Shore, never met her, but was she like? Some people say she's a nightmare.
Who?
Mitzi Shore.
Yeah.
Comedy Store. The Comedy Store.
She owned the Comedy Store.
Yeah, I mean, what was she like to work with? To have to be
she was
to her.
Okay, here's the thing about Mitzi. She said things about your act that made no sense. It was like she told Louis Anderson, "You need to wear a hat." Just goofy shit like that. You know what I mean?
No, he's right. Absolutely.
You should wear an orange blazer.
She didn't want to pay.
So.
Well, what about Bud Friedman's wife?
The one time
Bud Friedman's wife, she was fine.
Yeah. Okay.
You talking about Silver or his second wife?
Yeah, well, I'm just curious, because these people are sort of like names out of legend.
I love Silver. Silver was great.
Silver. I never worked for Silver Friedman, but I mean, I've met her, but I don't know her. So
she was wonderful.
Was she like different from? I mean, obviously she's different from Bud. She's a different person, but I mean, was it like sort of a night and day operation if you worked for her, or was there like a rivalry between her and him, or
well,
not
no, they
so
got a divorce. And
they divorced.
Yeah, I mean,
she kept the New York club, and he got the LA club. So
he also got the rights to name to franchise the clubs.
Yeah, that's true. Yep,
right.
And by the way, it wasn't like he got over on her. She had no desire to do that.
Well,
but you know what? Now, what about the story? What about the story that he got naming rights, except for?
Oh, let me tell this story, please.
Certain number of. Okay, go ahead.
Within like 50 miles.
Let me tell this story. The story goes
Sam probably knows it better than I do. Anyway,
he could not. He could not open a club within 100 miles.
Okay.
Of New York City. Okay.
Right.
It had to be 100 miles or more.
Right.
So he was negotiating. This is when you know that your ex hates you. Okay. So he was negotiating to open a club in Atlantic City, which is about 100 miles from New York. Mitzi, who had not driven a car since Lincoln did I say Mitzi? Silver, who had not driven a car since Lincoln was president. Okay.
Yeah.
Rented a car, clicked the odometer to 0, and drove from her front door of the Improv in New York at 44th and 9th to the site of the new club that Bud was going to build. It was 98 miles, and she scotched the deal.
Wow.
And because I got to believe location's important. When you're trying to get a club, you finally find the perfect spot. And here's 98. Oh boy.
Well, here's the thing, though. It's Atlantic City. It's not Vegas. Okay, move it down to 3 miles. It's fine.
Right.
I really believe that. The Borgata is not where it was originally supposed to be, and they're doing okay.
Yeah, they have shows. They have shows more than just weekends too, don't they?
Yeah, by the way, you said something earlier I wanted to ask you about. Are you? I don't know. The Comedy Castle doesn't have week-long gigs.
No, they do
No.
Thursday, Friday.
Wow.
They do Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They fill up now Sunday through Wednesday. They do their regular open mic. They run like an ongoing contest, and they stretched it out. They do it twice a year. It's called the Detroit to LA contest.
Right.
And they do like 12 preliminary weeks, and then they do all kinds of quarter and semifinals, and basically they fill 26 weeks with one contest and 26 weeks with another contest, and they send 2 winners a year to LA. And Mark has some pull. He can get them a spot at the store, the Laugh Factory, or Improv or something, and they pay for him to go out there and maybe put them up for 1 or 2 days. But so they sell a lot of tickets because in the preliminary rounds, you get 12 to 14 people in this contest. And so all their friends and family come to support them. So that's how they fill it on Tuesday nights. Wednesday, they do their open mic. But then all of those gigs, all of those open mics and those non-paid comic performances can be bumped if somebody comes through and can do that night. So let's say somebody's coming through, they're doing Chicago, like a tour, and they can't fill up Royal Oak Music Theater or the Fox or any of the big theaters or stadiums. They'll come to the Comedy Castle and do Sunday through Wednesday, a Sunday, a Monday, a Tuesday, or a Wednesday, because those aren't regular book gigs for the Castle anymore.
I told you the story about Jimmy Wiggins, didn't I? At the Johnny Walker Red comedy competition.
No, I tell your Jimmy Wiggins story, then I got a good one too.
Okay, so Jimmy Wiggins goes on stage. Jimmy Wiggins is like an aging hippie. Okay, so he gets on. This is for everybody except Mark, because Mark knows him. So Jimmy Wiggins gets on stage, and every comic who's on is like wearing a sweater, very straight. And Jimmy Wiggins comes on. He goes, "Well, it's great to be here at this competition. I just want to, excuse me." And he looks at the judges, and he goes, "Are you guys the judges?" Yes, we are. Just you 4? Yeah. Well, then who do I blow in the men's room?
Hey, Comedy Castle. Yeah.
All right. Now I get to sell my Jimmy Wiggins.
Tell yours. I'm sorry.
We're touring together on a. I gotta think it was a Brad Greenberg week, just because it was in the Carolinas that this happened. And we decided to stop and have lunch at this roadside diner. And it was like you just picture a roadside diner in the South, small town. It's got the bar with the 8 seats where the cash register is right in the middle. And then they've got like 4 little booths with 4 seats around each. So you can't fit more than 20 people in there at a time. And as we're talking to the waiter, he's like the owner's son, right? And the owners are back there doing the cooking. And so it's really a small time operation. And so Yoder goes, not Yoder. Wiggins says, how many places does this seat? Or how many seats does this seat play? How many seats can you put in this place? And he says, well, we got, let's see, 16 plus 8, so that 24. He says, I'm going to give you a guy's card. His name is Yoder. I nearly split him.
That's hysterical. That's hysterical.
You got 24 seats in this place. This guy's name is John Yoder. He'll probably.
That's great.
Well, Comedy Castle has Dave Attell, who's coming. I think he'll be here in a couple of weeks. I'd love to go see Dave Attell, because that's a great venue for Dave Attell. Ron White played there a couple years ago for like some tune-up gigs, and again, he was great. He didn't do anything new. He just came out and did a bunch of Ron White stuff. But where else am I going to be able to sit 25 feet away from Ron White?
The three comics I would pay money to see are Dave Attell, Jon Stewart, and of course Dane Cook.
Sam,
if you had left,
I tell you what. Here are the acts that Ridley brings back at least once a year and sometimes twice a year. There were 4, but Lewis Black was one of them, and he doesn't
Yes.
do the clubs anymore. But
He doesn't at all?
No, he does come. He and Kathleen Madigan are friends, and so sometimes.
Okay.
And Kathleen plays the castle at least once, sometimes twice a year.
God, is she great?
Kathleen Madigan, Dave Attell, and Craig Shoemaker. Those guys,
okay.
and when he was still doing comedy, Tom Sharp. Those were the guys that you could
man.
in at the Comedy Castle once a year.
You bring up
Madigan.
Dane. You're having a little fun with Dane Cook.
Hold on, everybody.
I never understood him. But what was it like for you guys when you're seeing him fill out arenas, and you're wondering, did he sell his soul to Satan?
Should we hold up for a second because we're at 1 hour?
Yeah, we should.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Jason. But
yeah, I just wanted.
No,
it's time to say goodbye.
All right.
I know.
MIC.
We need a song. We need a song. We need a little outro here, like all the other great shows do. We'll come up with that.
Holy cow, we're leaving now. We can't see you anyhow. Yay.
Yay. Yeah. Write that one down. We're using that one. Anyway, we'll see everybody.
I'll call my musician friend and get us an outro.
Oh, good. We'll see. Oh, yeah. What's his name, by the way?
Jack Spivey.
Okay, good. All right, we'll
Detroit
see everybody
guy.
next Monday night at 8:00. I apologize to anybody who really wants us to stay on time for this. For going around. Basically, I apologize to my wife for going a minute 20 over. Anyway, we'll see everybody next week. And I forgot to do the music. I do the music at the end too. Hold on. Let's get legit here. Too legit to quit. Too legit to quit. Here we go. And it's time to get out of here. Come on.